integration of cutting-edge technology. Experience the future of connectivity, effortless and intuitive, making content creation effortless. Unlock the transformative potential with Zazmic. With a global force of 450 experts across 50+ countries, we excel in DevOps, AI ML, migrations and cloud infrastructure. Top-notch certifications back our suite of services led by Google Cloud Premier Partnership. Revolutionize your business today with Zazmic.
Welcome everybody to today's webinar. I'm Sean Wilkerson, Head of Business Development here at Zazmic. Today we're going to be diving deep into a massive topic here, agent security and compliance within Google Cloud. We're going to show you exactly how to build secure production-ready AI workflows by utilizing Vertex AI Agent Builder as our core framework, Gemini Enterprise as the hub, and Model Armor to enforce strict security guardrails. We've got a lot of great insights to get through today, so let's jump right in. Going to introduce you to some of our speakers again. So my name is Sean Wilkerson, Business Development. Got Jan Kronberg, he's the owner and CTO here at Zazmic. We've also got Andrew Rickard, one of our great customer engineers. We got Jessie Piper with Google. She's the enterprise sales representative covering tech and business transformation. And we have Saad, he's our head of compliance. We highly encourage you to ask questions throughout the session. However, given the size of today's audience and to keep things moving smoothly, please drop all your questions into the Q&A box right below the video stream. We actually have people from our engineering team in the chat ready to answer your questions in real time. Now, following today's events, we will be reaching out to each one of you to schedule time for a discussion about your organization's specific use cases and current security posture. During those conversations, we'd also be very happy to explore available Google funding programs that may offset some of the implementation and deployment costs. You're also going to receive a copy of today's presentation from the webinar. And if you'd like to go ahead and get a meeting set up, which I highly encourage you to do, please take a picture of that QR code. Actually, the first 2 people who actually sign up using that QR code, you're going to get a free pen test, a funded pen test to help identify opportunities to strengthen your security program. In addition to the first 2 organizations to schedule a follow-up meeting, following today's events, during those conversations, we'd be very happy to explore many different things, most important, your specific use case. Now, for the agenda, we're going to start here with Jan Kronberg. He's going to be talking about how agents actually get built. Andrew Rickard is going to cover Gemini Enterprise and Gemini Enterprise security. And Andrew is also going to be covering custom agent security. Jesse's going to be covering Chrome Enterprise accessing agents securely, and Saad's going to be covering compliance. Over to you, Jan.
That's excellent. Thank you, Sean. So I'm here from New York. So if you hear some sound on the background, that's because the Knicks parade is not too far. Just FYI. But first off, we wanted to touch base on how you build agent, right? So you have different type of platform, from very technical to less technical. I mean, the code first framework that we've experimented with in the last 3 years or 2 years and a half has been LangGraph, CrewAI, AutoGen, and Llama Index. There's much more platform that you can use, right? There's Glean and some others. But this is what we experience. I mean, LangGraph we love. It gives you a lot of control, like overstayed memory and stuff like that. So this is our preferred one, but it comes also with security kind of responsibility, which we'll talk about. Then you have low code and visual platform like N8N. Big fan of N8N, but you also it's plug and play. It does a lot of things. You can host it or you can use it as a SaaS platform. It's a bit up to you. Then we've seen also like a bunch of project with Gunloop and D5, but also pretty good platforms there. So next slide. Then, and that's why we're here. If you are basically working on a hyperscaler, like you have different choices. You can work on Vertex AI, you can work on Microsoft and Azure, and like Copilot Studio, and they are good choice. But obviously, you are constrained to one hyperscaler, right? Salesforce, Agentforce, in particular. I think what's interesting, so there's convenience, right? I mean, so you have platform that are code first, the platform that need nothing, like an A10, and then you have the enterprise platform. And I think what's interesting is since it's a security webinar, like the responsibility that you have if you use LangGraph, for instance, is much bigger because you have to take care of the VPC, the secret manager, and the IAM. So you have, I would say, a lot more security responsibility. On an A10, you can host it or you can have it non-hosted, and there also you have some work. And that's why we're here. When you use Enterprise Suite, and especially Vertex AI and Gemini Enterprise, a lot of the security is built in, right? You have VPC isolation, IAM, full audit logging, and obviously the platform is SOC 2 and everything's compliant. So I think that's a huge advantage. And I'm going to hand that over now to Andrew, who's going to walk us through what GE does and why it's a good environment for agents. Over to you, Andrew.
Awesome, Jan. Thank you. So you've just seen the landscape, so how these agents get built, and the lane most enterprises end up in. So my job for the next stretch is the part that decides whether any of this is actually safe to put into production, and that's going to be security. And so I want to start with the why, because this is genuinely the part most teams get wrong, and it's worth kind of slowing down on. So why does enterprise AI need to be secured differently than the chatbot you use at home? And so here is the underlying problem here. So most teams test what the agent can do, but they almost never test what the agent should be allowed to do. And those are two completely different things. So let me make that concrete with a 4 on the screen. So if a user doesn't have access to Salesforce, what should the agent return when they ask a Salesforce question? So the wrong answer is the agent has its own service account, so it just answers it anyway. So that's definitely a leak. You don't want that. If the agent queries Snowflake, whose permissions apply? The users or the agents? So if it's the agents, you've really just handed everyone in the building the keys to your data warehouse through a chat box. And so if the agent can use tools, where is it actually allowed to send data? Because an agent that can call external APIs can also exfiltrate. So if somebody sends a malicious prompt, what stops that misuse before the damage is done, not after? So none of these are model quality questions. You can actually have the smartest model on the planet and still fail every one of these. And so this is a governance problem, and that's really exactly the gap the rest of the session is going to close on. So this is the framing I want you to leave with. So enterprise AI has to be governed, not just powerful. The difference between consumer AI and Gemini Enterprise comes down to 4 things, and they're all on the left here. So access has to follow your enterprise identity, the same identity that your IT team already manages. So not some generic bot account that sits outside of all of that. Responses have to respect the permissions you already have. So if you can't see it in the source system, the agent shouldn't surface it to you, period. And so how your data gets used has to be bounded, and that means both contractually and technically. So your data is your data. It's not training the model, and it's not leaving the boundary you set. And security has to hold all the way through. So across the prompt, across the retrieval, and across any action the agent takes, not just at the front door. So that's the whole game. Powerful is the table stakes now. Governed is the thing that lets you actually put this into production. So let's get specific about how Gemini Enterprise actually delivers on that. So it starts with identity because everything else hangs off of it. So the one idea to anchor on is this: in a secure AI environment, the user is the security boundary, not the agent, okay? The agent never gets God mode. It acts on behalf of a specific identified person with exactly that person's permissions. So hold on to that, because here's where it actually pays off operationally. So let me walk you through this part here. So the employee signs in through the identity provider that you already run. So Okta, Microsoft, Intra ID, whatever you have. Workforce Identity Federation lets that existing identity govern access on the Google slide. So you're not standing up a second user directory that you now have to babysit. So there's no parallel set of users to manage. And this is the part security teams love. So when somebody leaves the company or just changes roles, you don't have to go hunting through the AI platform to revoke access. You change it once at the source, so in Okta, Intra, etc., and it propagates. So deprovisioning the person automatically deprovisions what their agents can see and do. That is a real cut in risk and a real cut in admin overhead at the same time, which doesn't happen often. Okay, so that's the theory. Let me show you what this actually looks like. So what you're about to watch is Gemini Enterprise answering a real business question against governed business systems. The data is coming from Salesforce and Snowflake, queried live through Gemini Enterprise, and it's also showing off custom agents built with the agent development kit. The thing I want you to watch for is the same question, same interface, but the answer changes depending on who's asking. So keep an eye on that. Here we go. Let me show you a live demonstration.
Enterprise data is scattered across CRMs, data warehouses, apps, and spreadsheets. Gemini Enterprise, powered by Zazmic's AI agents and connectors, lets teams combine all this data and take action instantly, just by asking. Let's see how this works. Gemini Enterprise becomes the single interface for your entire stack. It securely queries and interacts with your systems through Zazmic agents. Just drop a chat command. The agent dives into your data sources and runs complex workflows automatically. Today, we'll show how our agent connects Salesforce and Snowflake to identify revenue opportunities and automate strategic GTM campaigns. We start by identifying our most valuable accounts. With a single prompt, the agent pulls live revenue data from Salesforce and matches it with real-time product usage from Snowflake. In seconds, we have a clear view of our VIP customers and their current footprint. Next, we find the white space. The agent identifies high-value products your top customers haven't bought yet. This instantly creates a roadmap for upsells and expansion, identifying exactly where the biggest revenue opportunities live. One more command triggers a targeted go-to-market campaign. The agent drafts personalized high-context emails for each account owner to review. This workflow turns raw data into a strategic sales strike in seconds, handling all the complex cross-referencing for you. Want to automate at scale? Connect Google's most powerful AI to your entire enterprise stack with production-ready tools by Zazmic. Contact us to learn more.
So that's the payoff, and it's worth saying out loud what just happened. So same question, different users, different results, and that's not a bug. That's the entire point. The permissions were preserved at retrieval time. Gemini didn't fetch everything and then try to hide the parts you're not allowed to see. It only ever retrieved what that specific user was cleared to access in the source system. The controls were invisible. Nobody had to think about them, but they were absolutely enforced. So the key takeaway is right there at the bottom. The agent is not a shortcut around your IAM. It's not a side door. Useful answers and tight access control are not a trade-off. You get both. So security shows up here as confidence, not as friction. So the user just gets a good answer and never feels the guardrails working. So that's the standard. Now let's talk about what happens when you start building your own agents on top of this, because that's where the security work gets more demanding. So everything I've shown so far is largely secure by default on the platform. But the moment you bring in custom agents, custom connectors, custom tools, you're adding new surfaces, and you have to secure each one of those surfaces deliberately. So let me break down where that risk actually lives. So when you add custom logic, the risk shows up in 3 distinct places, and it helps to name them separately. First, data risk. The moment you add custom connectors, retrieval, and indexing, you've created new paths to your data. Every new path is a new place where access controls have to be enforced correctly. Second, runtime risk. So custom prompts and custom orchestration means custom code is now executing. So new execution paths are new opportunities for things to go sideways if they're not governed. And third, this is the one people really underestimate the most, in my opinion, egress and action risk. So once your agent can call APIs, hit workflows, or make web calls, it's really not responding anymore. It's really acting. And so an agent that can take actions can take the wrong action or send data somewhere it shouldn't. So response risk is one thing. Action risk is a different and bigger thing. So the question really becomes, how do we put real foundations under custom agents so that all 3 of these things are covered? And so I'll show you that over the next few slides. A secure custom agent rests on 2 foundations, an identity plane and an execution plane. On the identity side, it's the same Workforce Identity Federation, or WIF, that we already talked about. So it links the agent's access right back to your enterprise identity provider. So user management stays simple and access stays tied to real people. On the execution side, this is really where agent runtime comes in. And that's the managed runtime in the Gemini Enterprise agent platform. It's fully managed, and it's a runtime for a production agent. So it handles the deployment, the scaling, the session management, all the infrastructure most teams don't actually want to own. And critically, that means you're not running agents on some unmanaged box in a corner that nobody's patching. So put those 2 together and you get the property we want. The agent runs in a governed, managed environment, and its access is anchored to a real user's identity. If that identity changes upstream, the agent's downstream access changes with it. No orphan permissions, no mystery service accounts. So now one of the most important decisions you'll make, and it's genuinely an architecture decision, not a checkbox. And that is how your agent retrieves knowledge. So because that choice defines your compliance and security boundary, there's 2 paths. So path 1 is data federation. So think of it more as a zero trust runtime query. The agent goes and queries that data live in its original system at the moment of the question. So nothing gets copied, nothing gets stored in Google's index. The data actually never leaves home. And so if you're under strict data residency rules, and a lot of you are, this is your strongest fit because the data simply stays put. So path 2 is data ingestion. And so here you sync the data ahead of time into managed search index. So Vertex AI search inside of Gemini Enterprise. The upside is real. It's faster. The semantic search quality is better because everything's pre-processed and ready. But there is a catch, and this is the part you really can't skip. And that is that you now have a copy of the data. And the access controls on that copy have to perfectly mirror the access controls on the source. So we call that ACL mirroring. If those permissions don't line up exactly, that is the gap where someone could prompt hack their way into data they shouldn't see. So the honest summary, federation gives you the tightest boundary and the best residency story. Ingestion gives you the speed and search quality, but demands disciplined permission mapping and governance on that new index. So neither is wrong. You just really have to choose with your eyes open. And a lot of real deployments end up using both depending on the data source. So identity and retrieval cover who can ask and what they can pull. But there's one more layer. And it's now mandatory, not optional. So you have to inspect the conversation itself. So the prompt going in and the response coming out. This is model armor. And so the easiest way to think about this is an AI firewall that sits in line in front of the model. So on the input side, it screens prompts before they ever reach Gemini, catching prompt injection and jailbreak attempts, the stuff that's designed to trick the model into ignoring its instructions. So it does this semantically with machine learning, so it catches the clever attacks that keyword filters miss entirely. On the output side, it screens the response before that user ever sees it. So if the agent is about to leak PII, financial records, credentials, any sensitive data that you've defined, model armor catches it on the way out. It plugs it into Google's sensitive data protection to recognize well over 100 types of sensitive information. And it does this all with negligible latency. So the user doesn't feel it. The results, you've dramatically cut down on the scariest categories: semantic attacks coming in and data leakage coming out. So let me pull all that together into one picture. So because individually these are features, together they're an architecture. So follow one request through the whole path. So the user authenticates with their enterprise identity. Their prompt gets screened by model armor on the way in. The agent runs inside of the managed agent runtime. Data gets retrieved strictly under that user's permissions, which is important. Federated or ingestion, your choice. And external call the agent makes is policy controlled. Only pre-approved safe destinations are allowed. And the path out is locked down with things like private services connect with a secure web proxy, so a malicious server simply cannot be reached. And then the response gets screened one more time before it's delivered. So identity, runtime, data egress, and output all working together on one request path. The key message is this: Gemini Enterprise gives you a complete end-to-end secure architecture for custom agents, not a pile of security products you have to integrate yourself. So one governed path, start to finish. And here's the nice second order effect. So everything I just described, identity tied to the user, traceable connector activity, sensitive data kept protected, changes that stay governed, those same design choices that protect you also make you provable. So when security is built into the workflow, compliance stops being a fire drill before an audit and starts being something you can just demonstrate. So Saad's going to actually touch much deeper on that a little bit later, but there's one piece I haven't covered, and it's the last mile. So we've secured the agent, the data, and the platform, but the thing we haven't talked about yet is how people actually reach all of this day-to-day through the browser. And securing that access point, the endpoint, and the browser layer itself is its own discipline. So this is the perfect handoff. Jesse, I'll pass it to you to take us into Chrome Enterprise and how we secure the way users actually get into these agents.
Thank you, Andrew. And Andrew made a great point. When security is designed directly into the workflow, sensitive data stays protected and activity stays traceable. But to truly protect that data end to end, we need to talk about the end user. Now that Andrew's shown us how to secure the data and infrastructure on the back end, we have to address that missing link. So you can build the most secure AI agent in the world, but what happens where the human actually interacts with it? What if an employee bypasses that secure agent entirely? What if they take highly sensitive governed enterprise data and just paste it into a public AI tool via the browser? That perimeter is breached. And the reality is SaaS apps and agentic AI experiences happen where the work happens, and that's in the browser. And that's really why we need to have the conversation about secure enterprise browsing. So today we'll dive a little bit more into Chrome Enterprise Premium and kind of how it acts as that final critical layer of your AI security strategy. So really to solve this, we use Chrome as a centralized enforcement point for AI services. So if you really think about it, the browser is really the new perimeter, and we need to do three specific things. First, we need risk analysis to uncover unsanctioned AI use. We have to see exactly where our users are going and catch data loss risks before the data ever leaves the endpoint. Second, we need data protection, and that means applying granular controls to stop insider risk and data exfiltration right at the moment it happens. And then finally, we need endpoint protection, which requires an elevated device security posture. If a device is compromised, it simply cannot act with your AI tools or your sensitive data. And this is how we enforce security right at the glass, kind of closing that gap between your secure backend and the, let's be honest, unpredictable human element of it all. But kind of taking a closer look at this in practice, we obviously can't control what a third-party LLM does with the data once it receives it. But with Chrome Enterprise Premium, we can control the browser. So imagine an employee has your Q3 financial forecast. They need a quick summary. So instead of using your secure internal agent, they copy the text, open a new tab, navigate to an unvetted public LLM, and then hit paste. And that data is gone at that moment. So with CEP, we can intercept that exact moment. We can warn the user right as they're trying to copy paste, block the upload entirely, or even automatically redirect them to the company's preferred secure LLMs, such as Gemini Enterprise. So we can enforce data masking, watermarking, and screenshot protection. We can set context-aware access to block AI as an entire category or block access to specific URLs. And then we log all of those sensitive data transfers directly into an evidence locker. And Andrew kind of showed how you can lock down the back end with Model Armor. Well, Chrome Enterprise Premium is your armor on the front end. So it stops the leak before the data ever even leaves the machine. But I think one of the things we're hearing most often now is how shadow AI has become such a massive headache for IT right now. So I like to often ask security teams, do you actually know how many PDFs your sales team uploaded to random LLMs last week? And usually the answer is no, because you can't secure what you can't see. So what we're looking at here is a part of the Chrome Security Insights dashboard, which is a part of Chrome Enterprise Premium, and it completely eliminates those blind spots. At a glance, administrators can see exactly how many risky domains were accessed, how many sensitive content transfers occurred, and the exact volume of file uploads and downloads. You get a clear breakdown of domains, the users, whether those users are accessing high, medium, or low risk environments. But to kind of complete the whole security picture, we know this data just can't sit in a silo. So you can actually sync these Chrome logs directly into the SIM that you're currently using for comprehensive monitoring of cross-app user activity. So this means your SIM can instantly correlate front-end browser activity with back-end alerts, sort of taking the guesswork out of your security posture and turning it into concrete, actionable data integrated right within your existing workflows. But, of course, these controls are only useful if they're actually easy to manage. We don't want to create an administrative nightmare or require your team to learn yet another complex interface. So in the Google Admin Console, you get complete visibility into Gen AI usage, and you can set policies centrally. So you can quickly block unsanctioned sites and then apply data protections to the approved ones. And for the generative AI features built natively into the Chrome browser itself, you can use policy defaults to explicitly allow your teams to use those built-in tools while ensuring your enterprise data isn't used to improve those underlying models. So really gives you the flexibility to embrace AI innovation kind of while maintaining enterprise-grade compliance applied globally with just a few clicks. But up to this point, I've talked a lot about blocking, restricting, and monitoring, but I think the key point with AI is that it's really here to accelerate productivity. So if we create too much friction or force users to log into clunky, isolated, secure portals, they're just going to find a workaround. So the beauty of this architecture is that while security works heavily in the background, the user gets more of a native, frictionless experience. So pictured here is the Chrome integration with Gemini Enterprise. So right from a new tab in Chrome, users can get secure, easy access to relevant information and tools. And I want to be very clear here. This is not just native to Google Workspace. If your organization runs on 365, this integrates beautifully. So as long as your employees are using the Chrome browser, they can securely type in the search bar to find Salesforce opportunities, pull up Word docs, or analyze slides. And it integrates perfectly into the browser they're already using every day. So this keeps their natural kind of flow going, boosts output, while keeping the enterprise data perfectly secure and governed. And then kind of to wrap up, I just wanted to look at a quick customer success story. TELUS used Chrome Enterprise Premium to kind of strip away the legacy security complexity and enable a secure web-first work experience. So by enforcing those controls directly in the browser, they successfully defend against data exfiltration while their employees kind of enjoy that frictionless experience. And it's really the ultimate balance of productivity and protection. But I think really the best part is feeding this data into a centralized browser, like directly into your SIM, makes your life infinitely easier when audit time rolls around. So proving your security posture is no longer a scramble. So really quickly, just kind of want to talk about what it looks to get started with this. And we want to kind of give you a risk-free way to see this in action. So kind of offering two things with this webinar. First is a complimentary assessment. Really, this is just an opportunity for us to sit down together, get to know your environment, validate your architecture. We'll look at your current security posture and map how exactly Chrome Enterprise Premium integrates with your ecosystem. But second, to prove out the value, we're offering a complimentary 60-day proof of value for up to 5,000 users. So you can deploy this, test the granular controls, see the SIM logging in real time, and then watch it protect your data without spending a dime, which is wonderful. So I would love to talk to you about it. The Zazmic team would love to talk to you about it. Sean's going to put up a QR code at the very end here, and then you can reach out and we can set up something directly. But now to kind of transition, we'll talk about how we translate this secure architecture into continuous compliance, and I'll hand it over to Saeed.
Hello. So I'm Saad, Head of Compliance here at EMEA, Zazmic. I'll follow up with where my colleagues stopped. They were talking about security. It's all good when you've got everything secure, but you have to make sure you continue the best practices. And if you do not continue the best practices, it's very easy to slip down and have things compromised. Compliance does not only apply to a certain sector, like fintech or healthcare or banking sector in general. It's basically for anyone who holds data, especially with the AI. It's important that if you're holding, whether it be employee data, whether it be customer data, you have to make sure that it is compliant. Now, what do we at Zazmic do over here to help the customers and clients? We make sure that you continue with your daily work. We will make sure that it does not become engineering heavy on your side. We will ensure that all of the compliance is set up and tailored based on your requirements. We understand your use cases. We make sure that the compliance is working for you rather than becoming an overhead and burden on your team. And I've just shared a screen grab of Security Command Center. Security Command Center is a one-stop shop for security and compliance, which Google provides. It has three flavors. One is the standard, which is free of charge, which covers basic security. The second is what you're seeing at the moment, which also has compliance. It covers 19 different compliance standards. As an example, HIPAA, NIST, ISO 27001, and so on. And it also gives you the percentage that you're covered for that particular compliance. And it is where we would leverage Google's tool to ensure that everything that is in your infrastructure is 100% compliant. We will focus on the frameworks that you are targeting. So if you're targeting ISO 27001, or if you're targeting HIPAA, or if you're targeting some other compliance, we will ensure that those compliance standards are always compliant. If there are any pain factors, we would also be reviewing those along the side. So to cut it short, why is compliance important and what will it bring to you? So compliance will be part of your sales because it ensures your users that everything that you are doing is top notch. It is following the best standards and not following for 1 or 2 days, but it is a continuous effort that you are kind of implementing, and it is adding value from on day-to-day basis. We can also help you pass your security compliance frameworks, whether it be SOC 2, whether it be ISO 27001, or whether it be some of the new ones like ISO 42001, which is in specific for AI, or any other framework that you might have. Or just to add, it might be that you want to know what is the EU AI Act, and you want to make sure that you're compliant with that. So I'll just quickly go through some of the services that Zazmic has, and then by the way, you can also share any questions that you might have, and we'll be answering those. So in terms of the audit, we can ensure the readiness. Your team focuses on the business that matters. We will ensure that there are no loose ends, no privileges are given or extended to users or teams that shouldn't have that. We can ensure, starting with a gap analysis, to ensure that all the controls that are for your compliance framework are fulfilled. We can also ensure that you're audit ready before you start your audit journey. And how do we help those who are already in the audit state? So we can help you with continuous monitoring. We've got a team of SecOps. We can set up, we'll understand your business, make sure that we know what are the issues that you've had and what are the things that you're working on, so that we ensure that the right monitoring tools and the right set of things are set up on your system, whether it be Mendiant, if you're a very big client, or if you're a smaller client, then SEC is good enough. Or if you have any other third-party tools, we are also well-versed on those. So we can help you with annual recertification readiness as well. We also work with some third-party vendors who can give you the certification as well. We can help you with evidence collection, which, especially for bigger companies, is a very big, long, and hefty task. So we can help you with that. And while we are doing this, you can scale and expand to your business to wherever you want to go. In terms of security and compliance, we can get you covered. I've added a few other things over here, like multiple cloud compliance. So if you are using hybrid cloud infra, we can also support you with that, whether it be AWS, DigitalOcean, Azure, GCP, we've got you covered. EU AI Act is a new framework. It will be applicable for all EU businesses. If you are struggling with that or need help, we can help you set up that. Again, ISO 42001 support. So AI is new. It is a new certification for AI, and we can help you with that. It's perfectly fine if you just want to do the pen test, and if you want virtual CISO to support you in your compliance and security journey, pen test is a good start because it tells you where you're lacking things, and we can support you with all of this. Lastly, I'll link it with everything that my colleagues were talking about. Everything that we've talked about over here is about how you can securely integrate everything for your enterprise or small businesses, or even if you're a startup, to make it easy for you to work while you can accelerate your business, your growth, and we are here to help and support you. Implement right tools for security, implement right tools for compliance. We are here to do posture assessment test or pen testing test if you are worried that something might be compromised, or maybe you build something very quick and you're not sure whether things were set up in the right manner. We are here to support you and cover your backs. Over to you, Sean.
All right, thank you, Saad. I'm very sorry. There was something I failed to mention at the beginning, that for joining today's webinar, you will also be offered a funded security posture assessment. So just make sure that when we do the follow-up here in a few hours, that you set up time so we can start working on that security posture assessment. And again, make sure you take your phone out, take a picture of this QR code, because if you're one of the first 2 people to set up a meeting on our calendar, you will all, in addition to the security posture assessment, you also will get a funded pen test. So I also just want to give everybody an idea of kind of, the Google Zazmic relationship. So when you team up with a Google Cloud Premier partner like Zazmic, you're essentially getting an elite engineering team and a direct pipeline to Google's corporate resources. Premier is the highest tier of partnership that Google offers, meaning Zazmic has been thoroughly vetted to handle the heavy lifting. Instead of burning out your internal developers or trying to hire, hard to find cloud specialists, you can lean on Zazmic's architects to build out advanced stuff like Gemini AI agents, enterprise search, and security guardrails, all while working hand in hand with your dedicated Google team. Zazmic also helps navigate Google funding mechanisms to get your projects off the ground and into implementation. Now, again, I know that we've covered a lot of information here. There's a lot of offerings. So just make sure that when I'm going to, a couple hours from now, I'm going to be sending some outreach to you so we can just get you on the phone, talk about your specific use case, your specific needs, just kind of see where the conversation goes, and make sure that you understand all of these offerings, because I know there was about 3 or 4 different offerings on here. So we just want to make sure that we're navigating that correct. And, we want to help map out your needs and help, get that security posture assessment, get it started. And again, don't forget about taking a picture of this QR code, because that penetration test that would be funded, you would find it very, very beneficial. So again, we thank you so very much for joining today. Again, I know it's a lot of information, so be on the lookout for a follow-up email from our team, and we're going to get time set up on your calendar to talk about your specific needs. That's going to be kind of the most important thing there, because again, I know that we've covered a lot of information here. So, and again, you will also receive a copy of today's slide deck when I do this outreach here. So again, take a picture of the QR code. Remember that you've got a funded security posture assessment for joining today. And that is it. We really appreciate everybody joining today. Have a good day.